Look at this. I got headphones on. I got a mic going. Baby.
If
Huh?
only people could see you now.
Hey, no video. We've gone through this before.
All right,
No
all right,
video.
all right. Welcome to This Commerce Life. This is a podcast aimed at small, medium entrepreneurs focused on commerce. I'm Phil, your host, and Kenny, your co-host, will join us as well. And we're going to talk to you about the world of retail and commerce and how things are changing in the world.
Okay, so tell me, so you're checking out, you get a text message.
Get a text message. And this is after, we are, super relaxed. We're excited to get home. And then I go out and grab coffees. I come back to their room and suddenly I get a text message. Air Canada, your flight is canceled. Let me read this to you because I think you'll be like, what? So basically, oh gosh, where is this even? It was, okay, also now I can't find it because I think it was just
They've removed it from your phone.
Maybe they removed it.
They knew it. They knew you were coming on a podcast. They were like, no, don't let her have this message. Must delete.
Right? I think, yes. So, here we go. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
So this is the kind of message you will receive. Oh no. Oh, here we go. Flight, blah, blah, blah. Chicago to YYZ. Canceled reason. Crew constraints resulting from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our operations. So that's literally it, right? And then we both go into our apps, go into our email, haven't received anything yet. And we're like, okay, what do we do now? Because literally we are, like, our bags are packed and we are exiting our hotel, right?
Yeah.
And so then I call Air Canada 2 hours later. Okay. And within these 2 hours, I do get a rebooking notification where my partner's been booked on a flight today going through Montreal, and I've been booked on something tomorrow, also going through Montreal. So an hour and a half direct flight is a 9-hour journey. And then by the time I got somebody on the phone with Air Canada, I was like, yeah, like, number one,
what the heck?
What is happening?
Yeah.
So we believe somebody on the crew got COVID. So then, and of course, from what we've heard is travel is increasing. The amount of, I guess, people working at the airports, the pilots, like, obviously that's decreased significantly.
Yeah.
So the same thing is happening across industry. And COVID constraints is a very nice packaged way to say that, we obviously have a challenge with our workforce. So now finally got hold of somebody, and now we're flying back on Wednesday, but we couldn't find another hotel.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And should we just like rebook a whole other flight and come home? Or we didn't know what to do. And the challenge is that the COVID tests only last 72 hours.
Yeah.
So either way, we had to get another COVID test. Even if we flew today, we would have to get an emergency test that you have to pay for because it's emergency. And it was, lucky for me, I have a huge family, and I have an aunt and uncle just outside the city.
Oh, amazing.
Where we are. We are in a beautiful, huge, gorgeous house that is walking distance from a beach, and it is like we're having another vacation.
That's awesome.
So where are you at right now? You were
in
Chicago.
Chicago still.
Forest. I'm outside of Chicago.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a nice neighborhood.
It's
like that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice that, we were in a hotel room for a week. And you know how it is when you used to be a huge traveler, you were in merchandising. So, you have platinum status and you have all these great things. When you go, we were in a beautiful hotel, but of course, because of COVID, there was nothing, like not even the fridge had anything in it.
Yeah.
So, I did a Target order. I ordered some stuff for the week. So we had at least, some milk for coffees. But it's nice to be not in a hotel.
The joys of travel.
Skeleton, feels like, from what we're used to. Anyway, hi.
Hi. My goodness, that's an adventure.
Yes.
You're in a good spot
I-
now, though, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a good spot now. And
You're probably
Yeah.
getting fed too, right?
oh yes, I just had lovely lunch.
You see?
Yeah.
You'll get 3 meals a day now. Nice meals, too.
Literally 3 meals a day.
And snacks.
And snacks and Nespresso on tap. I'm
Whatever you want.
me and my coffee.
Hey, it's like she's at your house, Kenny.
Hey, I did this last week for people.
We had a team gathering at Kenny's house last week.
We weren't supposed to be at my house.
Yeah, we were supposed to be at an Airbnb, but we got there and the Airbnb was nice, but a little sterile. Like it was kind of Hilton lobby-ish, so very white
Oh.
granite, the whole bit, but tough for a team gathering and just not enough seats. Like the layout just didn't work. So we stayed at Kenny's house, which he graciously opened everything. So his fridge, his kitchen, his coffee beans,
His
everything.
Liquor cabinet.
Yeah, we basically drank him and ate him out of house and home.
Pretty much.
Basically. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I love it. So Phil, are you still
Yeah.
in West Coast?
No. Kenny
Okay.
kicked me out at the end of the week. He was like,
Oh.
that's it. Go home.
It was the last one to leave.
Go
Out.
home.
I want my house back. I don't want any more people in my house.
You're like, don't you know we're back in lockdown?
Yeah. Well, so the funny thing is we were in Vancouver and like in the middle of the week, the medical health officer actually pulled one of those because literally everything's fine. And then I think it was like Wednesday, right, Kenny? She basically said, okay, so as of immediately, we're re-implementing the mask policy, right? Because their numbers jumped in the middle of the week. And I was like, holy shit, I hope I'm going to be able to get out of here. Otherwise, I'm never leaving your basement. And like Kenny's like, yeah. I'll just...
Amelia would take you. She'd be fine with you. I just didn't want you here anymore.
Oh man. So
But it's
so
part of
tell
it,
us.
right?
Yeah. Tell us about this conference.
Well, speaking of reinstating a mask mandate,
Yeah.
I did the same thing last week.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people at the conference in the elevator, no masks. So that was a little bit
Weird.
strange coming from Ontario, where
Yeah.
Coming from Canada in general.
also Canada. I mean, not except Alberta, right?
Except Alberta.
Doesn't count, yeah. But it was interesting. I mean, just like getting on the flight, and I will absolutely say that if you are planning to travel, please get your Nexus card, because all the flights were delayed because people were stuck in security and then stuck in
No.
being like a huge traveler that I used to be, of course, I have all those things in my pocket, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, like, that was super helpful. Like, I was through in 5 minutes, but our plane was delayed, and so was my partner's, for the same reason, because of security and customs. So that part was interesting, but other than that, the flight was fine. At least we didn't have to go very far. And Air Canada does serve coffee and tea on the plane.
That's okay. At least you had
They
something.
did not within Canada, which was interesting because I had gone to Calgary a few weeks before that. Yeah.
Wait,
But
and they didn't serve anything?
No, nothing.
They served us on the way. They served me on the way to Vancouver and on the way back too.
No, we got nothing.
Weird.
Nothing.
Plain
Air
size?
Canada, you need to make things right with
called-
Liza Amlani.
Seamless integration, people.
Yeah, it's just consistency would be good, right? Just for
Yeah.
funsies.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yeah, not for any reason. Just for something to do.
Yeah.
Shits and
I have
giggles.
to say, like, just being in Chicago, just from the airport onwards, everybody was super nice. Everybody that I encountered, even like from Uber drivers to restaurant staff to even the hotel staff, like everybody's like, pro-mask, vaccinated, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, there's a big challenge on the flip side with anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers and, what's happening on the planet. And, I hate to turn this into anything other than retail, but, we went to the first retail in-person conference.
Yeah.
And it was very safe. I felt good. It was very, everyone was distanced. I don't know if you saw, I think you saw some of my Twitter
I did.
videos.
I did.
I was trying
They're
to
awesome.
document
Yeah.
what was going on.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I was on stage 3 times on the first day, and in the audience, even they were wearing masks unless you were eating or drinking, but everyone was super spread out, as you saw from the videos.
Yeah.
On stage, we could take our masks off.
Obviously.
Yes, so that was helpful.
Well, you're not there in front of it. We got distance. I mean, that's the trick.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But I would say overall, the conference was good. It was good. There was a lot of chit chat around the number of people, because they were expecting 7,000, and then I think there were about 3, which is
not bad considering.
Not bad.
Seriously, considering the numbers in the States are out of control, right? So
yes, yeah, and I think even a lot of the people that I spoke to it was their first time flying, and these were like, Deloitte partners, and they spend their life on planes. So considering this was their first in-person event, to me that means that they chose to go to this
right
for a reason. And I think that the speakers, the lineup was good.
The speaker lineup
was there.
So cool. I mean, you had folks from Alta there, and
yes, that Alta keynote was amazing. I definitely took videos of that.
Yeah.
And I did post those on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, you did.
But no, it was good. Like, the lineup was good. The tracks made sense. If you're in supply chain, or if you're looking to scale your DTC, or understanding the engagement across social platforms.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great tips and guiding.
So just so people know, what was the conference?
What was it exactly? Retail X, hosted by Retail Touchpoints. And it was, I thought it was pretty well done. Very spaced out in terms of safety, but also talking about things that were very relevant, like curbside innovation, which is what I was part of. Digital transformation and goals around how to put your customer in the center of those types of decisions when changing processes. And then, of course, the customer experience. There was a lot around customer experience. And I think that is something that some retailers maybe don't talk about enough, because they are stuck on what does that mean? How do we do it? How do we really understand? Are we doing the right thing for the customer? Is it something they even want to see? So it was great. For me, it was good.
What did you talk about? So curbside, because you're with Melissa Minkow.
Yeah,
and she's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's the head of retail industry.
Yeah.
For CI&T. So we put a presentation together around curbside innovation. Some great players. We did a few takeaways, things to consider. For brands and retailers around curbside. We gave some poor examples as well, just to understand that, how important it is to consider communication with the customer when, orders are ready for pickup, and what does that mean to them, and around space planning and fulfillment around your salespeople. Have they been trained in the right way? Do you have the right materials? I think there's so many things to consider with curbside, because it's here to stay. So we must keep innovating and iterating so that it is as seamless as possible for the customer.
Are they having the same challenges in the States in terms of people? Like, you can do anything you want in customer experience and curbside, but right now you can't hire people in the Lower Mainland anyway. I don't know what Ontario's like, or the GTA.
Yeah.
But I know the States is going through the same problems.
Yes.
Having someone open the door is a treat.
Yeah. So everywhere I went, the excuse was that the staff was new. So not a lot of people were trained. So even staying at, a luxury hotel, which, of course, that would be me. So stayed at a beautiful hotel.
Why not?
The staff was new. Yeah. The staff was new. Housekeeping was new. Everyone just was new. They didn't have their concierge services. There wasn't housekeeping every day. You had to book it 24 hours in advance.
Right.
There was no lounge. There was nothing in the, in the fridge, like I mentioned earlier. So that part was interesting, considering, what we are used to experiencing pre-pandemic. And in terms of retail, we did pop into quite a few stores just to see what that landscape was like. And they didn't have a lot of staff.
Yeah.
At all.
Is it because
They
they're just
are-
not
they
hiring
have-
because of COVID, or they couldn't find staff?
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think it's both. I think that in the US, the same thing as in Ontario.
Same here.
Yeah, and probably same in BC, is that in some cases it's difficult for that frontline worker to find someone to take care of their kids, to help out with, generational families living in their homes, and then going out into the world to work. It's a
You're
little.
putting your family at risk.
Yeah.
You're getting yelled at. I mean, I don't know what Ontario's like. Oh, that's what I was trying to understand Chicago too. Like here, restaurants, specifically restaurants, more than anything, signs everywhere. Please be patient. Thank you for your patience, because they're just short. They're short.
Yeah.
There's just no staff.
Yeah.
And you can't hire people. If you want people, you can't hire people.
Yeah.
Like there's
And I
just
think
nothing.
we talked about this today on Retail Wire. As you know, I'm a brain trust expert on that platform. And we talked about, are retailers doing enough? And in some cases, I'd say no, but in some cases, they are doing a tremendous job.
Right.
Even in terms of upskilling and, focusing on investing in people's education. But there's still lots to be done around, basics like daycare. It's more beneficial for a mother or a father to stay home, collect government assistance
For sure.
versus going out and working. And then, of course, the
Yeah.
whole safety challenge,
Yeah,
for sure.
with bringing COVID home, which obviously we don't want that.
And when you're on the front lines, like in the service industry and or retail,
Yeah.
and that's where your anti-maskers or anti-vaxxers or, if you're in a hospital, it's already bad enough that
Yeah.
doctors and nurses are complaining. Can you imagine a retail?
I know. And I will tell you, the first store I entered was a Target. And the first sign I saw was around they're paying $15 an hour. And I will tell you that is a great pay range for, an hourly rate. And the benefits that come with that. And then, of course, Walmart with, the phones.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
they're doing around training.
All the extra benefits, right?
Yeah. But I think that they can do more. I think if we invest in retail frontline workers as we would in the corporate staff, like, these are our quarterly reports. Do you understand them? Let's get deeper into why retail is changing. Why are we making changes? What are we not doing enough of? And giving the workforce within retail, and it doesn't matter where, just that opportunity to invest into that retailer, right? Stock options, right? Even having a piece of the company. John Lewis does such a great job. That's why they're called partners, right? In the UK. So I think that is so important. And if you get your workforce to invest in you, then, they should be there for life.
It's an interesting one too, right? Because if you think about it, like, I wonder too if it sounds not quite the same, but I wonder if they need to invest in technology that allows, kind of frontline staff to be able to interact better with head office as well. Like, because there's, like, it's funny because London Drugs, where Kenny comes from, has a great reputation in the marketplace. I'm not saying that because Kenny's on the show, but just because that's from my retail experience too, is that they have ways to tune into what employee feedback is at the frontline level and actually do something about it. Whereas traditionally a Walmart or even Target, right, would really struggle with that, right? Like they might get store manager feedback, and even then you would struggle with like look, I've just got, I've got a couple of thousand stores.
Exactly.
I don't quite know how I'm going to incorporate all this feedback, but I think it's part of that, right? Because usually usually a lot, right, is at store level, you get employees who they really love the brand, but they get frustrated too, right? Because they're like, I don't understand why we've done this, right? Like I've emailed or I've called or I've tried to find somebody who could tell me why we've done this program. Here's how we could do it better. And for all those logistical reasons of like, I just, we can't tune into that many employees. That might be part of what you're talking about.
Steph Ears, right?
I think. Yeah.
It's also messaging too. When you look at Walmart, if you're an employee of Walmart and you know that self-serve machines have sort of now become the thing, and you're a cashier, do the mental math,
Yeah.
right? You're thinking, all right, so I'm going to be replaced. Where am I going to go?
Yeah.
Now, logically, I think we talked about the three of us last time.
Yes.
That means you free up some bodies and you should go onto the floor, because even just helping with a ketchup choice, you might actually sell more ketchup. Do you know what I mean? If you just had somebody talking to you sometimes in the aisles, you could upsell. Corporations aren't going to do
absolutely. And
They're
I
not going
think
to do that, though, right?
But
big ones may not. Not.
There is a lot of retail tech out there, like, a Simplifield or a Nudge that, gives that opportunity for two-way communication with head office and frontline. And it's just a matter of, are retailers using that information from the front line? Are merchants using that information from the sales floor? The same way we would talk about, are we using customer feedback? It should be both, right? Because our sales and frontline visual teams, all those brand ambassadors are our brand, right? They're the face.
That's what we see, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's what, that when you walk in the store, what do you see?
Yes.
That's what you see, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a reason why luxury is still top of its game.
Yeah.
Right. Because they invest in their front line. I worked in luxury, so I can say that is true. Where they do invest in you, they give you wardrobe, they give you the tools you need, for the most part, for appointments and, just to build that relationship with your customer. But you are the brand, so you must dress as the brand, right? And I think that comes full circle with, obviously, training and product knowledge.
Right.
I think that I think of the number of places that we've been since it's opened up that we've seen those signs. And at the end of the day, energy replaces any expertise, right? Like, because there are lots of people who haven't done the job, who are doing something different. But when you get listen, I'm so sorry, I have no idea what the answer is, but let me go get it for you, right? Unless you're a complete jerk, right? Most of the time you go, I totally get it, right? Like, I get it. You're new, but you went to try and find me an answer. Like, that's good for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and I think that's what happens when you invest in those, you get energy back. Like, that's what people really need to feel, right? Is they need to feel that there's some energy there and that people actually are tuned in and listening, right? So,
and customers are craving that physical store experience right now. So if we don't make it exceptional as retailers, and they will move on to the next, just like they do in their Chrome browser, and they move to the next brand.
Yeah, totally. So
cool.
At this conference, though, what was the mix of people that is? Was it mostly supply chain? Was it suppliers? Was it retailers? Big, small?
Yeah. There were retailers. There were all sizes, I would say, of retailers. There was retail tech, an abundance of retail tech, lots of supply chain solutions in terms of automation, RFID solutions, which was interesting for me because I always wanted to learn more about that space in particular, and around data and how to use data to get closer to your customer, learn more from your customer to make better decisions around product, store planning, etc. There was such a cool company that I met, and this one I definitely posted about because I think, Phil, I don't know if you commented, I can't remember, but it was it's an eco company, and they're a tech solution that gives brands and retailers at payment. They give the customer the opportunity to choose how they want to complete that last mile and what carbon emissions that particular product will release, and what you would be responsible for. So, I always say knowledge is power, especially in retail, around sustainability and how we can be better consumers. And I loved that solution.
I did comment on that. I remember that because it hit home because I think I struggle with that as like I'm an environmental idiot, right? Like I kind of know the things that I know, like I do the recycling, I follow the things, but like carbon footprints and carbon emissions is something that I've never really gotten a handle of. And so when I saw your post, I thought this is kind of cool, right? Because at least it helps me relate day to day what, if I make a purchase, what the F does it mean for the planet? Like, cause I don't really know, right? Like, today it's like you buy an electric car, it's great. But then I read on the weekend that if you buy an electric car, like you buy a Tesla, you're doing more harm to the environment than if you drove a gas guzzler. You're like, what the F, right? Like, how am I supposed to know what the F I'm supposed to do? Like, I think COVID taught me that I should sit at home, use solar power, and never buy anything ever again. And maybe the planet will heal. Like, I don't know what.
So it's true though.
I will say that there's quite a few apps out there that will help you understand what your personal carbon emissions are.
Oh, that's cool.
In terms of what you're buying and how long you're using product.
Yeah.
And even in some of them, you can see like where your product is made, what factories they're made at, are they using ethical resources and sustainable.
Wait, so do you use any, like, what should I be using? I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Should I use?
Okay, I can't think of the name now, but I'll definitely send it to you. I mean, the last thing I want to do is open up my phone, and then God knows where my AirPods will, they're
yeah, I got you. I understand.
So
you could do it though. Phil gets distracted. You could get distracted too. It's all
right.
good.
No. I'll send that to you. But there's a lot out there.
Okay.
And it's very cool. It's very similar to like a source map, like you would do online. I don't know if you've ever been on source map, but let's say you bought a pair of Vans, right? You go on source map and you could see down to who made your product, which is very cool.
Which I think some places in the world would not want you to know right now.
Yeah, but do you want to buy those products?
Yeah.
Nope.
It stops you from doing certain things though, right?
Yeah.
You may stop supporting governments or countries you don't want.
Exactly. Yeah. But the more educated and informed you are as a consumer, the better decisions that you can make.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then you can actually hold retailers and brands.
We can hold the retailer accountable for it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I don't like these brands. I don't want you bringing this stuff in anymore. Like at the end of the day, it's about us. It's our money.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Right?
Love
Yes.
it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
That's very cool. So what was there? Okay, so the carbon footprint thing was really cool. Anything else that kind of made you go, holy crap?
Yes. I actually I interviewed the head of the head of commerce for Verizon Media. She was amazing. Andrea Wilson. And we talked about digital transformation goals and how she is also a consumer. So she tries and aligns her goals to her decision making. And it was just really like, she's awesome. I'm pretty sure they recorded it. And if they didn't, I'll see what I can find. But super fascinating. She used to be a merchant. So, I got along with her really, really well. And then I followed that up with the retail nuts and bolts, a peek inside the CX toolkit of former Home Depot and Lowe's executives, and just talking to them about customer experience in that DIY space and what does it mean? Is it still growing? What are we seeing as the trends? Because obviously, 2020 was the boom of home renos and gardening. So that was a very interesting conversation, very relevant right now, seeing as, people are moving back into cities. What does that mean in terms of home renovations? And do customers even possess the skill sets to do home renos? And what does that mean for the future? Is there going to be like skill sharing involved, and the sharing, like we're already doing sharing of tools, right? Nobody owns anything anymore, do they?
Why would you?
Exactly.
Like honestly, well, you can rent so many things. It's so easy to do that, especially in
I do own space. I do own tools, but we have our own unofficial little co-op, I guess. So I have 3 buddies that 2 are very handy and 1 not so handy. We worry about him. But between the 4 of us, we basically have different tools.
That's good.
So we trade, right? So anytime that one's going to buy, the first question to the other three is, do you have this? No, I don't.
So now you guys will.
So now we will, and now it's, and then so it's like, oh, I need a Sawzall, what do you got? Oh, I got a towel cutter, those sort of things, right? So we do that already.
So that's interesting. So imagine your contribution to sustainability, because you're not buying things that you don't need, you're sharing.
Yeah.
And what does that mean for the entire concept of consumerism?
Well, what does that do for retail?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, because
I think it makes me
it's
a
a
bad
great
person
thing.
at retail, but it makes me good for the planet. I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, we got to get the planet a little higher up on the list of sort of the
Yeah.
important things.
Yeah.
Consumables are great, but sooner or later, we got to take a look at this rock we're on.
Yeah. Well,
Before the rock kicks us
before we
off.
actually turns it to just a rock, right? So.
Well, it won't be forever though. The rock will reset. It'll just reset us out.
Yeah.
Right? The rock will survive. We'll be the ones that leave the rock, and it'll take a while. And it'll reset, but we're all gone.
That's debatable.
I think the rock. I don't think it'll reset with us on it. I totally agree. I think if anything, what it'll do.
I think it's trying to kill us now. Like
I think because it wants to reset. I think it's getting tired of these insects that are on this planet. Say, get the hell off! You're screwing me up. Move.
I think.
Well, seriously, we don't seem to get it.
I think it's trying to wipe us out now. So I don't know.
Sometimes you wonder, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, nature has had a way to take care of itself, right?
Yeah.
And you can move out the stuff that's causing you harm. I mean, your body does it. There's no reason that this is a living, breathing planet. I mean, there's no reason it can't be doing it too. It's amazing what nature will balance out sooner or later.
I'm sure there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there on COVID, and not only about the existence of COVID, but where did it really
Good
come
Lord.
from?
So
that
many.
There's so many paths on that.
I know.
Again, that could be
So
just
many.
nature just doing its thing.
Cleansing?
It's tough to say, right? I think sometimes, again, the planet can't fix itself. It always has. I mean, it doesn't help when you've got all these things on it that just don't let up. Like, even in the house, like if you just stop, that you can reset, right? But I think the planet must get to the point where it's going to say, you guys aren't getting it, man.
Yeah, but at some point, we're going to cut down too many trees, right?
We're getting close to all of that. 100%.
Yeah, and look what the industry's doing to water, and
our number one resource,
and polluting it with the plastics from synthetics and synthetic fabrics, and with the increase of athleisure. What does that mean if we're not innovating? Our fabrics and using more plant-based, what is that doing to our water? And I don't think that's something we talk about.
That I don't know if the planet can figure that one out, because that's not built into nature.
Exactly.
Right? That's something that it must be thinking, I don't know what to do with this.
I read that I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but I read that basically because the amount of crap we've thrown out, like plastic wise, that like each human consumes a X number of like microplastic or whatever.
I read that one too.
A year.
Like everything's got microplastics in it now, in essence, is what it came down to.
Shocking amount of.
Yeah.
No, it's
great.
It's awful.
We are
awful.
This podcast has taken a very dark.
Well, it's insane. But this podcast is the one, because we're retail, because we're end of the line in a lot of ways. Like the shit that people buy from us and the stuff we promote as retailers and merchants is what causes a lot of this, or most of this mess, in terms of what the end result is, plus the beginning stuff. Petroleum products, how we build the factories to produce the shit that we don't want more than 14, 15 minutes before we recycle through. And recycle is a bad word, because it's not recycle, it's throw out and replace. Like, we got to start looking at that. Like, you guys, your friends, you're not doing much for Lowe's and Home Depot's growth, but you're doing the right thing for the rest of us. Still need tools. And quite frankly, because you guys are buying now one tool between 4 people, you can actually start buying higher end tools instead of the shit that breaks down in 15 minutes.
Yep.
You guys can actually buy some nicer tools, spend a little more, it lasts a little longer. Like, you can still fuel a pretty good
Well,
gig, but
and it's neat that way because the flip side of that is we each bring our own expertise. So it really is a co-op that way, because it means that when I was roofing, one of the buddies, he came over to help me, right? And he knew what he was doing. So I wasted less material. Do you know
All
what I
of it.
mean? Like, and I was able to choose better material
Yeah,
because he knew what he
time.
was looking for, right? So, like all of those things,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of cool that way because I actually think that you do cut down on some of that stuff, right? Because you do like when you're starting, like, I've been in this house like 15 years, right? But even the first house that we bought, I don't know what the F I was doing, right? So you kind of like buy components, you do it, and then you go, wow, that was shitty, right? Like it either looked shitty or it was shitty material or
It was the wrong stuff. So you had to
so
rebuy
now
it.
I got to rip it all out and do it again,
Mhm.
right? Well, what did I just do? I just doubled my, the amount of crap that I bought, right? So, yeah.
This definitely took a turn.
What was the most
think we did this
interesting
last
thing
time
in the
too, though.
toolkit? I think because we think similar, right? Like I just think we.
Well, because I think we all love what
I
we
also
do and
think
love
that
the
we
industry.
all hope for something better. Like what
Yeah.
we want to be able to sell things, but I think we want what everybody else or a lot of people want, right? Which is I'd like to buy something. I don't mind spending a little bit more. I'd like to spend something. I'd like to get better quality. And I have embraced the mind shift, right? Like 20 years ago, you couldn't run out of something. Like if you ran out of something, someone would look at you and go, are you even legitimate? Like, why wouldn't you have piles of that stuff lying around, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like food at a restaurant, but it's in a store too. If somebody said, listen, that was a limited line and I ran out, I'd be like, fuck, I'll make sure
I should have bought. That was my fault.
But yeah, I'll make sure I pay attention, but I'm really okay with it, right? So if you only made 100 t-shirts and you sold all 100, I'm good with it, right? Like the fast fashion of like 1 million t-shirts and then you recycle half of them.
Yeah.
Like it sucks, right? Like it's probably a very bad model for us. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
I read this article last week in the New York Times around the cotton tote crisis. I don't know if you read that.
I did.
There's a lot of information around, and like I said before, information and knowledge is all power for the consumer. So I would, definitely push you guys to read this article in particular.
Well, give me the gist of it now. You two have read. I haven't read it, so give me the gist.
Yeah, did you read it, Phil?
I did.
Yes. So just the amount of free cotton tote bags that people like, they're not all cotton, right? Of course.
I'll say that was like a loose word, right? Most of them are synthetic.
Exactly. But just around that eco-fashion messaging and how it's, there's so many free ones out there that, obviously they give them away and they accumulate and, where do they end up, right? It all ends up in the landfill.
Same place the plastic bags ended up.
Exactly. The same place that, even recycled fabrics, they all have plastic in them, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're reusing them. And they all end up in landfills as well. So I think that there's a lot to be said about the amount of information that's out there. And I think that we as consumers and retailers are more informed than ever before. So if we as consumers don't start making better choices and we as retailers don't start making better choices, then the planet is not going to regenerate itself because we're going to ruin it.
We're going to kill it. So at the conference, though, when you're talking to the supply chain, so the start of the supply chain, because I'm assuming what they would tell you was we're making what the retailer wants because that's what the consumer's telling the retailer they want. So sooner or later, someone's got to make a decision somewhere on a grander scale than what we do now. I mean, to Phil's point, like the electric cars is a great idea until someone figures out what to do with the batteries when the car's gone.
Yeah.
I think that's what people get upset about, Phil, is that the combustion engine obviously pollutes as it goes.
You're just deferring
I don't know.
the
What do we do with the batteries? I don't know. Maybe it's not as big a problem. Maybe it's.
And it's
maybe there's
like it's not like apparel and accessories and footwear that you can put on Poshmark or ThredUp or.
Once those batteries are dead, what do you do with them? I mean, they're pretty much. I mean, the car. I mean, I guess a combustion engine, you can clean it, scrub it, repurpose the metals. I mean,
Melt
they'd
it
be
down
a
for
little
parts.
contaminated, but
Yeah,
like, what do
yeah.
you do with this other shit, right?
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see like what. That's why I was trying to figure out who's at the conference, right? Because you're trying to figure out someone's got to have a good idea of how to get more people to start looking at what you're saying. Like the technology aspect's really cool, but that's not going to change my mom and dad. But my mom and dad might want to do some cool things because they have grandchildren and one day great grandchildren. Do you know what I mean? So they're kind of trying to think, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
So I was curious to see if there was like what the talk was of what are the new materials coming out. I'm assuming more plant-based in everything we do.
Yeah.
Plant-based plastics would be better than the shit we're using. You know, I mean, I guess we'll be out of petroleum in 40 years anyway, but I don't know why we got to get to the bottom of the barrel before we shut the tap off.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. There wasn't that much talk on textiles and, you know, supplies from the manufacturing production standpoint, but more along the lines of last mile and before last mile, you know, of automation of your DC or your WMS,
Right.
how that, you know, impacts your tech stack type of thing, tying it all together with real-time visibility of inventory, which we know is something that's lacking still, and that, you know, many brands and retailers are still working on. But I think that the beautiful thing about bringing people together at a conference like this or anywhere is that, you know, it just gives retailers and brands just a lot more ideas of, oh, what if we did this instead? We could save not only the planet, but save money because we're not, you know, we don't have to worry as much on loss prevention because we've implemented RFID on, you know, from,
Right.
you know, our factories overseas or whatever the case is.
Or whatever they decide to do, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's why I don't think this goes tangential. I know we sometimes go off track, but that's the conversations have to start somewhere.
Yes.
Right. And if the conference is going
Agreed.
to talk a lot of tech, which is super critical and great,
Yeah.
is you still need to impact the actual supply chain and say, okay, we got that part, but okay. But if all we're looking at is the technology to buy the same shit, just maybe in a faster or more efficient way, or how to put it in a warehouse in an efficient way, that's great because you'll save some carbon footprint on the other end.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, we got to try to figure out the crap that we're putting into our homes. I mean, I think for you guys, same like COVID, I haven't bought much of anything recently, to be honest with you. Lots of food. I mean, we've eaten a lot in the last 16, 17 months. Like,
Yeah.
I know that. Played in the yard a little bit, more plants in the yard, which is obviously good. But we haven't spent a ton. But I'm assuming once this loosens up, I think we all have I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, do I go back to buying all that shit that I haven't needed really for 18 months?
But
Like, what do I do?
we have, though, as a society, we have, right? Like the amount of renos that we've done.
I've done a lot of other different
society,
things. Yeah.
We've probably dumped a ton more crap back.
I put a lot more into man hours, though, Phil, I think, than sometimes things. Like redoing the yard did not require me to go buy shovels, axes, tons of plastic shit. Lots of plants went in, maybe a little more rock. And I used people. So that I probably hired a few people that maybe wouldn't have had as much to do the year prior, rather than spending it on things. We spent it on, you know, other things, I guess, or whatever that means.
But I mean, the stats will tell you that we are absolutely shopping right now, and we are.
It seems that way. That seems like as soon as the light went back to green, it's go baby go.
Between the, I mean, your story might scare some people off, but like between the traveling, right, the spending in other people's towns, right, like tourism is. Yeah. I don't think, you know, like just the people that I follow on Instagram and dare I say it, Facebook still, but I don't think a single friend is actually in Toronto right now. I think they're all out renting Airbnbs near you, Kenny.
I'm saying,
you know, they're either here or they're in the Maritimes. There's nobody in Ontario, I don't think. Like,
well, and BC's the same. We drained our province. I think everybody went elsewhere. Well, we had fires all over the place, but people just wanted to do something, anything, but stay home anymore.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that even in Ontario, even if people didn't leave the province, the Airbnbs and the restaurants around Prince Edward County and Collingwood and Muskoka,
they're booming.
We can't get anything. You can't get a hotel in the province. Like, I mean, it's insane. Like we went to the
we
island
did-
a couple weeks ago, spent 3
Yeah.
times what we normally would.
Yeah.
We didn't care because we wanted to get the hell out of Vancouver.
Yeah. But even in
Right?
Toronto, in the city, the restaurants are full. Like they're busy.
Yeah, they're full.
But obviously they
full.
have less capacity. So, it takes a lot less to fill
And
the-
plus, you guys,
Yeah.
it's more novel for you. Remember, we never really shut. Like
Yeah,
in BC, we
that's
were
true.
always open for 4 or 6. So our restaurants closed, but 1/10 the amount of time you guys did.
Yeah.
So for us, for you guys,
Craziness.
it's probably you're still just playing a little catch up. Where we're all thinking, okay, yeah, we've had the restaurant thing. We've done
Yeah.
some bar nightclubs are open for a little while. Casinos are open. Like, okay, we need more than that now.
Yeah.
No, I
Right?
think
we're just
every
bouncing to get the hell on
Ontarian could actually
planes.
tell you their first 2 experiences back at like going out for dinner and
Oh, yes.
when
Mine were in my
when and
neighborhood.
where.
I
Right?
tried Port Local, definitely,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I also didn't want to go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And then of course, you come to Chicago and we had to book restaurants because everything was
You're
booked.
booked.
Yeah. And I will tell you, this was hilarious. On Friday, I had booked the rooftop restaurant at Soho House because I hadn't even been in, so long because I just obviously didn't go anywhere because we're in lockdown. And it was like literally, I felt like I was in Vegas at like a day pool party.
Funny, eh?
And I was like, what? is
Feels weird though, doesn't it?
happening? Yes, we moved floors because we're like, this is too crazy.
It's it's too busy.
We went to like where it was super quiet and there was like nobody around us. We just
Oh
ate.
my god, that's so funny.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
But I think we're all doing that. I go into stores now. You look, fuck, there's too many people in there. I think I'll just go
Yeah.
later. I liked it before. I like to I didn't mind standing outside even a little bit. It was not too long.
Yeah.
I like this.
Happy to wait a little bit. Yeah.
I felt great in Costco. It was like my Costco.
Yeah.
It wasn't a ton of people. I was going through checkouts and I something up. Now you go and thinking, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even here, because like I said, the mask mandate was reinstated. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
the
so did we
day
2 days ago.
the day before the
Yeah.
conference. And there were people in my hotel in the elevator not wearing masks. I didn't go in. I was like, I'll wait. I'm fine.
Yeah.
No, it's because it's still weird.
It's
off-putting.
it's still
Yeah.
fresh. I mean, it hasn't gone.
Yeah.
That's why it hasn't left
Yeah,
us.
Getting worse.
Well, if anything, it feels like it's actually going the opposite direction,
Yeah.
right? No, we're in the same boat. Oh, I hope this is imagine another winter of lockdowns. Holy shit.
Oh no. All right. Stop the dark
Aye.
turns. Lisa, thank you for coming on. This has been amazing.
Cool.
There
And,
was.
Yeah.
and that's nice to see her in a nice place in Chicago now
Yeah.
too. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that this week's newsletter, I'm going to put some tidbits on retail acts
Yeah.
and what we found and
Yeah,
who I met.
Put some recipes down
Awesome.
too, since you're eating again.
I know.
I will. I actually. So I've got. I swear to God, I wasn't stalking you, but some of the stuff you were putting up was cool. So in the podcast notes, I'll put in a couple links so people can tune
do
into
it.
them and just see
Oh, awesome.
what's going on. I'll throw in the article to the tote.
I'm gonna go read that now.
So if listeners want to wander in, they can find us or you online and talk about
Yeah.
it some more. So
That would be great.
yeah.
There you go. I just sent you.
Good, thank you. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that now. Since I'm
Yeah.
one of the
It was
only
a good
one of the
one.
3 of us.
And,
Yeah, it was
you
good.
know,
I liked
the
it.
funny thing is, like in that article, they talk about Anya Hin March, and I was dying for that tote when it came out. I was living in
Yeah.
England at the time.
Yeah. I actually remember because I remember that tote and I remember having this conversation, right? Because people around me are like, "Oh, this tote," and I was like, "It's a tote. I don't understand. Like, I guess I'm a dude. I don't understand like why this tote." So yeah.
And that was back in
funny.
2007.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not that long ago.
2007. Holy jeez.
Easy now.
You guys are that old?
I was 10. Not.
I was a little more than that.
Thank you so much. We hope you have a safe flight home.
Safe travels home. I hope you get home
Yeah.
quickly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get back to some sort of normal.
Yeah.
I don't know what normal means anymore.
I don't know what it means anymore either. I don't think any of us do.
Ah,
That's
no.
okay. We'll figure
We'll
it
make
out.
it up as we go. Whatever.
Yes, and-
Exactly.
And if I need any tools, I'll definitely.
Yeah, you can give me a call. I'll hook you up. It's all good.
Just remember, you have to put them back into the pot, though, right?
Right.
You got to buy tools, like you got
Yeah,
to share.
yeah.
Because sooner or later they're going to want tools from you, and if you don't give them
Yeah.
tools, they're
No,
going
no,
to just
I'm
think,
just
"Well, what's she in the
gonna get
group
what I
can.
for?"
Yeah, he's not wrong. Yeah.
Safe
Man.
job. Okay.
All right.
For having me,
Very
guys.
cool. No,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. Short
Thanks for
notice,
coming
too.
on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
No problem.
Awesome.
Have a safe trip home.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Take care. Okay, Phil, I'm just going to copy this link. You can go. We usually stay on for
You
a
can
minute
go.
or so.
We'll stay on for a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can do your
I'll talk to
thing.
you guys later.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Bye. That
Ciao.
was cool. She's
She
always
just-
cool.
Well, she's just up to date, right? She's got her shit together, right?
Yeah. But brave, very brave to go to a retail conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems weird that someone, you think you actually went to a conference, eh? Like,
So I mean, like,
Wow.
so the listeners, if there's anyone still listening, because we're almost at an hour, but we, like, Kenny and I were at a team build last week, and there were 6 of us kind of locked in together,
8.
doing stuff, and then at some points there were 8, and,
9.
and 9, but leading up to that, there was a lot of worry, right? Like, we were all kind of like, quietly feeling everybody out just to make sure everybody had,
Well,
that in fact
vaccines would be
that you're vaccinated and the whole
Or
thing.
how do you
right?
feel?
So,
how about you feel if someone's not vaccinated, or even if you are vaccinated? How do you feel about being together or not being together?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and we like we had a team dinner one night, and we actually canceled it. It wouldn't have been crazy. It would have been well within the provincial guidelines. So I think we were at like 10 people or 12 people ish, right? And we said, no, because we don't know how people are going to feel. So we're going to cancel that too, so to hear her going to a conference is a little weird.
Yeah.
Right. Like, to the whole thing.
But apparently for a lot of other people too, if they're anticipating 7,000, they only got 3,000. That's still a lot of people.
Yeah.
But it does show that, I guess, people.
But half of them didn't feel comfortable to come. Yeah.
I still just wonder where this whole game's going to go. Like, I do. I mean, I love listening to her because she's so like, she's so up to date and so up to speed on like where the technology is and all that stuff. But you still wonder where this game's going to end up, right? Because, like, I don't know what you're seeing out there. I mean, I don't shop a lot of anything anymore. But I don't shop a lot of high end. But if I'm going into like a Costco or a Superstore or a Save-On, there's no bodies around, my friend. Like, if they go to self checkouts, like, I know that Walmart has apparently, right? If they go to self checkouts at Superstore, I'll just stop going.
I think
I'm not interested in doing my own thing unless you're gonna have people all over the floor helping me. Like, give me something back. I mean, for Christ's sakes, now what do you want? Pretty soon, pretty soon, what do you want me to go pack the shelves too?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind working for you, but give me something.
So I have this theory, and I think it started with restaurants, and I think it's going to extend into retail. So my working theory is I think that you're going to get pushed on experience farther and farther. And I think it's going to have to be worthwhile. Like, so my theory is all of these kind of middling restaurants. So if you're a listener of ours and you run one of these restaurants, or you work for one of these kind of companies, I don't mean any disrespect, but if you've got like a middle of the road restaurant, so a Kelsey's, a Boston Pizza, these sort of, and like, it doesn't need to be franchise, it could be, but even if you run your own restaurant and you are a middling restaurant where you don't bring anything super cool or a true reason for being, I think you're going to get squeezed out. Because, like, I've been home like everybody else, right? And had some, like you, like, have some cooking skills. Not like you have really good cooking skills, but have some cooking skills, right? That I can make my own meals. Now that I'm going back out, every experience has to be something worthwhile. And so I am not going, I'm just not, like, I'm not going to a restaurant like that, and I'm not going to pay, there were 5, the boys moved out, so there's 4 of us. So I'm still paying $100 to go for a family dinner at a middling restaurant that I can 100% cook by myself at home. So I'm not doing that anymore, right? So I'm going to either seek out somebody who's better value for the money, or that is highly more experiential. And I feel like retail is going to go down that road too. Walmart is going to squeeze. They're always going to have a role, but you're already hearing it, right? Like, for you, it's like, look, the line is drawn here. I'm not I get the self-serve model, but I'm not doing it. So
I'll do
if
self-serve
you're
when
going to
I
do that,
want to do
I'll
self-serve.
just
Don't force
I'll go
me.
somewhere else, right?
That's it.
Yeah,
I don't go.
I'll go
I don't
somewhere
care.
else, right? Like I'll go somewhere where they're willing to serve me. So
Right.
I feel like those experiences are going to come more and more because value for money is going to be that much more important, right?
And I think that's what
So-
restaurants have to understand. Like if you're going to be like, we went to a restaurant last week
Yeah,
before my huge poker night win.
yeah,
So we went for dinner just down the street, right?
Yeah.
And the food was okay. It
yeah.
wasn't spectacular. You know, 4 of us, I don't know, it was like maybe $180, $200,
Mhm.
whatever it was. So
Mhm.
I mean, not brutal because he had
Mhm.
drank a little bit.
Mhm.
But the server, it was a Brazilian restaurant, but the server was from Brazil. And she was fantastic. She was so nice, so informative. This is what's, you know, in our country, this is what you'd eat. This is what you do. Like, so, you know, even on that, like, the food wasn't exceptional by any stretch.
Yeah.
And the price was, you know, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
No great deal.
Yeah.
But for her, 20% tip. Right?
Yeah. 'cause
And
it's a big
we'll
deal.
talk about it now. You know why?
Yeah.
Because at that point, at least the service was good. And we learned a couple things, and you know, she brought us a couple things. She gave us a little nothing dessert, like probably $1 worth of dessert each, you know, to take home. But just that you know, thinking, well, that was very sweet of you, thank you, and just thought it was really nice. And
Yeah.
I think that's what retailers need to understand. Nobody's saying you have to put, you know, elephants in the store.
No.
I mean, just clean shelves would be a treat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. A
Yeah.
body down the aisle.
Yeah.
To maybe help someone
and
off
it's
the
exactly
top
that
shelf.
you like the
anything.
Brazilian experience, right? So it's almost like you got someone who understands the category, right? Like, you know.
Absolutely. You walk down, let's
That's
say, you know,
yeah.
ethnic aisles are gotta go. I read an article last week. Actually,
Yeah.
might have been Lee's. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
understand ethnic. No, it was
Yeah. It was Retail Wire, but she was part of that
I
conversation.
thought to myself, I said,
Yeah.
we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
Because we used to get shit in our stores. We don't put it, you know, gluten-free in a gluten-free set, or I started with a small ethnic set, and then as soon as it shakes, put it where the where the food is. An oil is an oil. I don't give a shit where it's from.
Yeah.
Right? But why do you segregate so much, right? But
yeah.
you walk into a lot of these stores, nobody around. Like, even if it's a small question.
Yeah.
Like, I went the other day before I went to pick you guys up. I just wanted to find something.
Yeah.
You think I could find a body just to ask, hey, just don't
Oh,
walk
were you
with me.
looking for some of my Chinese crap?
I think you know, it's sesame oil.
Sesame oil.
You know why? Not an oil set.
Yeah, because it's so hard to find.
It
It's
should be
so
next
hard
the
to find,
fucking oils.
but it
Put
doesn't make any sense.
If
Yeah,
your
I know.
canola, peanut, and olives in the same set, why do I gotta
Why
sit 6 blocks away for sesame?
Got to go over there. I don't know.
I don't give a
Yeah.
shit if Asians use it or not. It's
Yeah,
oil.
yeah.
Put it in the oil set.
Yeah.
I eat Italian. I eat Asian. I eat other people's food.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah,
food. I don't want
yeah,
to walk around the store trying to figure
Yeah.
out. And it wasn't even in the Asian aisle. It was sort of in the Asian aisle, and not even the right set. Well, like, for what I thought, right? Because, you know, I'm a retailer like you. I get pissed off when I can't. I think I'm a serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when your Sukin adventure. Remember?
Yeah.
How come it takes you so long to find it? It's not rocket science. It's in a normal set.
I know.
But I do, like, when I listen to her, I always think, holy Christ, like, we're focusing on all the cool stuff, but like, where is this gonna go? Like, where do the people go? Like, all these countries that are gonna stop making all these clothes and trinkets and shit. Like, what happens to all this stuff?
Kenny, this is a dark apocalyptic turn.
No, it's got to be something better for all of us to do. That's the thing, right?
I agree.
We can't.
I
It's I'll tell you what. Apocalyptic is if we keep producing all this shit that nobody needs.
Yeah.
To me, that's dark.
Yeah.
Stopping it and just making sure we take care of people is actually.
Yeah.
That's
something
okay.
worthy.
At least we're doing
worthy.
something.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I do worry about it sometimes because you think, you know, well, because I know what we're going to do. We're just going to say, well, no more, you know, because we're going to be you and I in the West, and we're going to make sure that, you know, carbon footprint, and we're going to take care of all the plastics. And then you're going to be watching the news. Yeah, why they're in civil war over there? Like, geez, can't they just calm down and enjoy life like we are?
Yeah.
Well, the fact you closed down half their factories probably wasn't, you know, great catalyst for you know, unrest, but I'm curious to see where this all goes. Like, what happens to this? Like, what do we start buying? What do we do?
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Like, how do we support ourselves? How do we, you know,
and how do we express, I guess, because, you know, the old format was I stopped buying something, but we almost can't wait for that. So how does the consumer now tell us that they don't, like, even you and me as a consumer, like, so once you read the cotton tote bag thing for example, if I were to walk down to my local Longos and go, listen, stop selling these things. These things are a piece of shit. They're worse than the plastic bags we were buying before. How does one consumer, not retail specialty, well, how does one consumer tell a brand, I don't want this anymore. I think you should stop doing it.
I don't know.
Like that's I'm curious about that too. But
so do we just maybe we either, like in the old days, we would stop going, and that would probably be enough in a lot of ways because maybe the communities were small or we didn't have as much choice. So you could actually tell 10 friends and you could actually hurt the business in today's world. I don't know.
No, not so much.
I don't know. I don't know how you.
I don't know.
I mean, you go online to do cancel culture. I mean, seriously, that's a shitty way to do it because half the time, I mean, people are just pissing and moaning.
Yeah, well, because now you're hurting.
Relevant.
You're
hurting people.
Unintended. Yeah.
Well, you're hurting people. Like
exactly.
Yeah. That's great. You went after the owner, but you shut the restaurant down. 10 people suffered for. Yeah. You could maybe done something different. Maybe there's a better way to handle this. But I mean, do we go to more services? Like, are we going to just be? Do we just eat out more? Do we just?
I don't know.
Do we get instead of cleaning clothes at home, do we go back to the old school of dry? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious too, because I'm curious to see how we displace people and where we move them and how does this all spin out?
Yeah. Well, it's already, I mean, I guess that's part of this too, is it's already starting to happen, right? Like people who are not employed anymore, like people have exited the industry to go do other things with their lives, right? And so maybe this is also part of this is the chain reaction of, look, like, we all know that shitty, like retail jobs are generally pretty shitty, right?
Shitty.
Like,
I mean, sorry, they really are.
Like,
it's
like
tough,
we've all done it, like, but the
It's
retail jobs are shitty. So they've exited to do other things with their lives. Is that the first step in all of this? Is you start, because you can't retain people, right? So businesses are going to have to shrink. They're going to have to find different formulas. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
100%.
Maybe that's,
maybe there's something
part
in that.
of it. So
because I think, I do know a lot of those people that, let's say they weren't making a ton of money.
Yeah.
They're making, let's say 40, 50 grand a year, which you can, it's hard in our city, but you can do it.
Yeah.
Right. You can make a go of it. But, maybe when CERB comes and you're only making $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you get to the end of the month and think, oh, I actually almost made it through the month.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Now, if I could just go back and only go to 2,500, because now I know I can make it through a month, but I can do half the amount I did prior. But you know what? What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Now you've got maybe potentially a happier society.
Yeah.
Maybe spending more money on bikes or canoes or
I don't know. Anything.
I don't know. Whatever they do, make more on maybe, like I said, maybe more on restaurants.
Yeah.
Or maybe just on general vacations, hotels. I mean, there's still industries will spawn. I wonder where retail goes is my biggest thing. I mean, I'll tell you, like Amazon, I mean, I know people love it. I know how many boxes have come to this house in this summer, right? If someone measures the carbon footprint of this house, I don't want them to.
Oh no, I don't want to know.
I don't want to know because we are not very good people in this house. Way too much trucks. Way too many trucks coming by. Not good.
On that note, we need to end it. Because I don't want to talk about my carbon footprint either.
Yours is worse than mine. Even though you tried to get me on that one podcast, you were the one.
I know. All right.
Hey, my friend.
You have a great night, sir.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'll probably chat with you pretty quick anyway.
Okay.
Ciao, buddy. What?
Ciao.